Hello, and thanks for joining us for the first episode of the Breaking Bio podcast. In upcoming episodes, we're looking for people to join the conversation. So please send your comments, topic suggestions, questions about biology or science, rants and raves to breakingbio@gmail.com or find us on Twitter at breakingbio. We're looking forward to hearing from you. Thanks for watching and listening, and please enjoy the episode. So, welcome to episode 1 of the Breaking Bio podcast with this assemblage of clowns we got here. I'm Steven Hamblin, postdoctoral research associate at UNSW. The guy making the pleasant finger sign is...
Tom Houslay, and I forgot this was being recorded on video as well. I'm a PhD student at the University of Stirling in Scotland.
And on the other side, we have...
I'm Rafael. I'm a PhD student at the University of Akron in Akron, Ohio.
All right.
A lovely place.
So apparently today's discussion is going to center around the joys of being in grad school. Now, since I have recently graduated within the last year and have moved on, I'm going to let you two start off with how wonderful and full of joy it is to be a PhD student. Go.
I thought you were going to impart your wisdom on how we could wrap everything up nicely.
Well, then we're buggered, because I have absolutely no wisdom. I'm relying on you guys.
To start off, I'd like to know what it is that you do, and because I know you did your PhD with like animal behavior stuff, and now you're working with virus evolution, is it something like that?
Yeah, I've got possibly the weirdest background ever. I mean, I started out in computer science for my undergrad, ended up in psych, did my master's in psych with a biologist, studying communication models and game theory models. And then I ended up doing research on social foraging for my PhD with Luc-Alain Giraldeau in Montreal. And then I took a postdoc doing mathematical modeling for viral and bacterial evolution. So that's what I'm doing right now. And I really can't explain how I got here. It's been an interesting path, but yeah, that's pretty much what I do now. So I'm mostly a theorist. I do a lot of computer work. I'm not an exciting field guy. I don't study insect sex.
Yeah, well, my studies of insect sex are confined to the laboratory, so it's not particularly fun either.
So, I mean, are you just lining them up and letting them have a go, or what?
Well, actually, so my second big experiment where everything died and it all went horribly wrong, one of the things that was going to happen in that was I had 2 undergraduate students who were going to be watching lots of crickets have sex and write down everything that happened. And also they were going to remove spermatophores from crickets so that I could maybe investigate what the amino acid properties were in the... they have a little gift that the males provide to the females during mating, which the females eat. But this did mean that I had to introduce these 2 girls to what they were going to be doing in a small, dark, locked room and tell them that they were going to spend their summer in there wanking off crickets.
Yeah, I can imagine how the recruitment meeting for that went.
Yeah, I'm pretty glad that I don't have to go through any kind of ethics approval. So.
Oh yeah, I guess invertebrates you don't need ethics, eh?
No, you can do pretty much whatever you want.
Fair enough.
It's awesome.
What about you, Rafael?
So I study bird color, basically, and so I study structural colors, which are colors that are not produced by pigments, but by the interaction of light with organized structure. So birds have these really, really organized nanostructures in their feathers that produce like iridescent colors, for example, like hummingbirds. So I'm trying to understand how during development these organized structures get organized and how they can be changed evolutionarily. So yeah, it's also it's one of those things that you talk about, and oh, bird color, it seems so, I don't know, interesting, but most of my work just revolves around sitting in front of a computer and typing letters and measuring microscope images. So
well,
it's hard to recruit undergrads as well, because they're not really expecting that once they get there.
Yeah, well, it's not like I'm getting any undergrads at all.
With shiny colors.
But that's actually, I'm kind of interested in what you were saying, Tom, about your experiment blowing up, because that's, and Rafael, what you're talking about here, because when you talk to people about the process of going to grad school or becoming a scientist, most of them have only ever seen it on TV, and mostly that entails just pretty people wandering around in lab coats, or cackling
lit rooms.
Yeah, they're in an underground lair trying to destroy the world. So I think it's valuable for people to hear the kinds of perspectives from people who are actually, like you guys, doing it actually day to day. So what do you think about how you guys are perceived, and what you'd like people to know about what we do? Well, that's a good pair of eyebrows you got there.
I don't know. It's kind of difficult to. I guess if I'm speaking to people in the public about stuff, then I tend to concentrate on the weird kind of behavioral aspects of what I've been looking at. But my actual thesis is more sort of theoretical than that, because it's all about the effective condition on mutation load, so the amount of deleterious or bad mutations that are in a population, and whether females choosing males on the basis of some kind of trait that is difficult for males to express will get rid of any bad mutations. Which, when you're telling people, is not quite as exciting as talking about weird little packets of sperm that males attach to females, and little nuptial gifts that the females eat, that kind of thing.
Yeah, there is the problem of doing sexy science, but, well, forget the pun in your case. But, I sometimes feel that there is really a disconnect between, trying to explain to people not only what we do, but how we do it, and the way they perceive it. For most people, even people who might be listening to this, or and just people you meet on the street, the process of science is a complete black box. They have no idea what goes on in the labs, or when we're sitting in front of our computers typing away, trying to look important. And one of the things I think that we have a chance to do here is talk about that, and let people know the kind of crap that goes on day to day in our lives.
I think one of the difficult things when you're speaking to those from a non-scientific background is to try and explain why it's important, and sometimes it's difficult sometimes even to understand yourself why it's important.
Yeah,
that's a question that I get invariably when I'm asked what I do, and I try to explain it in 140 characters or less. Because I guess my research, it's in the middle. It's got some biology, and it's got some physics and optics to it. So it's really hard for me to distill that. I can explain it in simple terms, but it will take me a long time. So I try not to go down that route. But so when I just try to explain things really generally, I think 99% of the time that I've done it, I've been asked, so why are you doing that? Why is that relevant or interesting, and I just feel like answering because it's really fucking cool, but that doesn't please all the time. So,
hey, that's a significant problem. I mean, we have to justify what we do, and it can be hard because I know I've spent hours talking to family and friends, and they ask things like, well, why are you doing that? And part of me just wants to answer that too, just because it's there, because I can, But they always want to know, well, what's that gonna do for us? How's that gonna turn into profits, or an advance for society, or and when you're studying like insect sex, how do you answer that question?
Yeah, I struggle a lot with it.
Carefully, I presume, but
yeah, I guess when you talk about these things, then it has implications for population genetics and our understanding of like genetic variation and maintaining that in sexual populations, and the question of why sex exists at all is still a pretty thorny one. So it's cool trying to find these things out, and it's really interesting working on it, but yeah, I still struggle when trying to think of some reason as to how this will affect mankind. But like, you take the vast majority of people's jobs, and how much are they gonna affect mankind? I don't know.
Well, that's true. But when you get down to it, most people want answers to the question like, how is this going to, help our economy, or, make money, or improve healthcare, or, the sorts of things that are relevant to their lives. And when you study theoretical aspects of social foraging and zebra finches, as I did for my PhD, it can be difficult to relate that question, especially since a lot of, the three of us here, a lot of what we're doing is more basic research. And basic research is hard to explain to people why it's important,
Yeah,
And
I was really lucky in ways because there was a group last year that started working on this. Like they started publishing some papers, tossing out the idea of making these high energy lasers based on these bird feather structures. So I can always toss that out when someone asks me, even though it's completely unrelated to my actual motivation, I have no interest whatsoever in doing that. People seem to be pleased to know that, But I kind of use that as an example of, of how, like, things that can actually affect us come from really unexpected places. So the type of thing that I study, could possibly have influence on how we make new materials that have optic properties relevant for like fiber optics and things like that, and coatings. But so it's not what I'm interested in, and it's not what motivates me. But sometimes it's helpful to toss that out so people are more at peace with what might come. So so there's always things that you can't imagine, but someone might put two and two together, and yeah.
fair enough. All right, high energy lasers and cricket sperm. Tom, go.
Yeah, I was just thinking actually. So I've recently been analyzing some of my data in a way that looking at the aging process. Just looking at the amount of work that's being done on aging just now is incredible, and the vast majority of it is in Drosophila, and obviously that's a model system that then you can try and extrapolate to humans in a very sort of convoluted manner. So yeah, it's, and also I'm looking at some sort of nutritional effects on aging just now. So it's kind of interesting, and you can sort of upscale it to say, okay, the nutritional effects on aging in crickets, and then do lots of research on that. Whether it's particularly applicable to mankind, I don't know, but you never really know what direction things are going to go in the future. So
Well, that's the joy of basic research, right? I mean,
yeah.
if we knew where we were going with it, we wouldn't really have to do it. But I mean, I do remember having a long 2-hour car ride with some family members once, and I was trying to explain the idea of basic research to them. And it was extremely hard because you can't point to future gains. You can't, you know. And I know in Canada right now, they're actually facing a problem with this because the government there is focusing very much on business-driven and applied research. And a lot of people in basic research are losing their jobs or suffering funding cuts. And so this question is relevant not only to us, but to them. You know, we have to explain to people why we're doing this so they'll give us money. And if they don't think that what we're doing is important, they're not going to give us that money. I mean, nowadays it's easier for me because I'm studying viruses. I can just say, oh, flu, you know. But
yeah, the principal at my university gave a little talk recently at which he espoused the virtues of business-driven research and said that there was no basic research being done in our department. So my lab, we've been keeping our heads pretty low since then, just in case they find out.
But that's the kind of thing that you'll kind of also only find out once you're already in, right? I mean, I didn't really have any thoughts about, you know, oh, what's going to be my career, what kind of job I'm going to have, until I was already a graduate student and already immersed in it far deeper than I could back down from.
So I'm just an idiot then, because I quit my job at a pharmaceutical company and decided to do a PhD in insect sex instead.
Yeah.
Cool.
So when you did that, did you have in mind like how, like, the gamble that it was, so to speak?
Yeah. But it's just one of those things where, I mean, I was kind of weighing up what was important to me, and doing something that I wasn't particularly interested in but paid well still didn't really have the same pull for me as doing something that I found exciting and was going to keep me motivated even if I get paid absolutely fuck all.
Yeah. How long did you work in the company?
I had a few years at a pharmaceutical company, and before that I was working for a couple of other places doing kind of bioinformatics work.
Mm. So you were kind of industry tangential related, but not in academia?
Yeah, exactly. So I worked in a university just doing some kind of not research stuff, but just like support, like computing bioinformatics support, and then was working in the fancily titled Advanced Science and Technology Lab pharma company for a while.
So, at any point, did you have somebody who, I don't know, told you about grad school and academia and, you know, made it seem like a good idea, or did you just kind of get into it on your own?
Well, my dad is a professor, or at least was until he retired quite recently, which was kind of weird because he had a big retirement day and there were loads of talks by people about how he'd helped them during their careers, and suddenly I realised that my dad was a bit of a big deal and I'd never actually realised.
Wow. What about you, Rafael? Did anybody, you know, kind of take your hand and guide you into science?
Let me think. I don't know. Well,
This should not be that hard to answer.
Yeah, I never really thought about it. My mom is a mathematician, so I guess I've always been kind of immersed in academic life at home, and I had really good mentors as an undergrad in my university in Brazil. So I did my undergrad and my master's in Brazil, the University of Brasilia, and I did my master's with Regina Macedo. She studies bird behavior, and yeah, she was really influential to me for sure. She was always pushing me to to go to grad school and study and try to learn as much as I could. So she was definitely a big influence to me. So yeah, I guess I had at least two role models, so to speak, I guess.
See, my experience was different. I didn't have anybody in my family who was in any way. I mean, I was the first one to go to university to complete any sort of degree. I had nobody who ever really, like, my path was all self-directed. So I wound up in grad school just because I realized that I really liked doing this stuff, and you pretty much couldn't stop me from doing it. But there was never any mentor along the way who said, hey, except for late in my undergrad, I did have a professor who, oh dear, we lost Rafael again, didn't we? I'll invite him back, and hopefully he can.
Yeah, you shouldn't take it personally that every time you start speaking, then Rafael just logs off. Yeah, I think it is important when, I think especially when you start using social media and speaking to scientists, and a lot of what people say is, you have to be able to explain your research, to your grandma in 20 seconds, and being able to do something like that it takes a bit of a while. Like it would take you, your first year or two of your PhD to be able to get a grip on that and distill the essence quickly. But it's definitely a good thing to have a go at.
Well, I mean, I've always called that the elevator pitch, right? You get into an elevator with someone and you've got until the ride down to explain it to them. But it is tough, especially because when you are trying to first do that, a lot of times you don't know what's going on either. First couple of years of your PhD, you're lucky if you have any clue what the hell you're doing. And explaining that to others.
Yeah, I got myself in the horrible situation of a couple of weeks ago. We had the eminent biologist Doug Fortuna staying with us, and he wanted to go out for a very long day of birding, which I took him out for. And on the trip home, I think we'd been out in the searing heat for about 15 hours, and then I had to do a 3-hour drive home. And in the last few minutes, he was asking me to explain my research. And I was so tired and so confused that both of us were just sitting there going, he was like, I don't know if it's just me, but I don't know what you're talking about. I was sitting there going, I don't fucking know what I'm talking about either. So that was massively embarrassing.
So golden opportunity you just wasted, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, at least you didn't just push him out of the car and run.
Well, I was thinking about it.
All right. Well, in any case, I think we've been doing this for about a half an hour now. I think I don't have a timer and I lost track of the time. So.
Yeah, do you reckon you can get 3 minutes worth of usable content from there?
I think I can do at least 30 seconds out of this. But, excellent.
We can build it up every week. It'll be awesome.
Yeah. We'll have our 10 minutes of stand-up material by the end of this. But I think we can probably pretty much wrap it up there for the day. And we'll take the post-mortem on this later and see what we can do for the next one. But I do want to thank both of you for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for making this happen.
Yeah, so we'll see if we can do this again. Get some of our missing co-hosts in on the action and some special genital of the week action going on. Oh, sorry, spoilers, I know. But,
that should bring us some clicks at least, some unwarranted visits.
Yeah, I don't even want to speculate on the search referrals for that one.
Well, if we can get some advertising revenue, then we could always club together and buy Rafael a new computer, or actually pay his internet bill or something.
Yeah, to make everyone's life easier, right?
Yeah, I think we need to start a Kickstarter for this. Get Rafael a new computer to replace the busted ass thing he's working on.
Yeah, or I can
Dude,
try
this
going
is
to a
the
coffee
state of
shop that
science.
might have, a coffee shop probably has a better connection than I have, so I'll just be that obnoxious guy talking really loud. in the coffee shop.
Yeah, please
Everyone loves
broadcast the video of you doing that in Starbucks. That'll be great.
Especially if we start talking about genitalia and things like that. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm sure you won't get arrested.
No, not at all.
Excellent.
No weird looks.
All right.
All right.
Let's wrap it up there. So thank you guys, and I guess I'll be talking to you soon.
Okay, thanks, Steven.
Thanks.